Whoops, unmuted the wrong channel. Hello. How's that sound? Maybe a little quiet. Okay, I think that's everything. So I go here. Oh, that's a weird little side effect there. I'm just gonna have to judge off of levels here. Okay. Alright. So, today I'm gonna be finishing up that build for my friend. So, again, for anyone stopping by, hello. I am Hermit Bounce. And, as some of you may see, my PNG's a little different. And, you know, we're making small steps. We're moving forward. So things will incrementally change as I get closer and closer to where I want to be with everything. So for now, gonna need B and H. Man, H still has a lot on that runner. So these joints might get a little involved. Okay. Also, I have my camera at a little bit of a difference. I'm gonna try this angle out and to see how that goes. 20. But yeah, so far things are going quite nicely. I have the ability to retake my test coming up, so that's a exciting thing, because that test will open up some new paths for me moving forward. I'll become officially certified in the thing I went to college for, because having a degree just isn't enough apparently. I have to be certified. And to get certified, I need to complete 2 tests, not just the one that says I understand what it means to be a teacher. But I'm getting there. I forgot to fix that about the wire. Okay. Yeah, how are you all doing on this great Saturday? As I mentioned in the Twitter post, I'm going to be seeing the live-action Terraform Mars movie. Oh, that's just some leftover flocking. Okay. But yeah, Terraform Mars is a pretty interesting action seinen series. Basically, like, the premise of like Terraform Mars, right, is that there's like this like disease that's like going around that there isn't really a cure for, and it originates from Mars. Now Mars has undergone a terraformation kind of like project, right? And to make sure that the life is sustainable on Mars, they sent cockroaches, because cockroaches are the most like formidable type of insect on Earth, to Mars with the like project, right? What they didn't account for was that the cockroaches would evolve into something like almost human-like, and the cockroaches have developed that knee-jerk hatred for all of mankind, the kind that like when you see a bug you feel that boiling feeling that you have to like stomp them out, that feeling of like disgust or whatever. And because these cockroaches have like evolved, they're just like way stronger than the typical human. Okay. And essentially, like, someone brought up the idea of like watching Terraform Mars, the live action movie, because they were kind of interested in it, right? That person isn't really like much of an anime fan, so like I don't think they even knew that it was based on a like a pre-existing like media. I think they like found it by like pure chance and were sold on like the premise. And so I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll watch that movie with you. And I'm like, you know, I've like tangentially known about its existence as like a manga for like years, but I never really gave it a shot. And then like lo and behold, over the span of like 3 or 4 days, yeah, over the span of like 3 or 4 days, I've been like binge reading it. There's like 14 chapters or something like that, right? And I'm like 160 something in. And like part of it initially was like I wanted to get my toes wet, just so I could like compare however far the 2016 movie gets to the medium that I've read up to that point. But then it was just like really compelling, and so I just kept going. Oh man, like that is some really reflective plastic. Okay. So how did they want this? Okay, smaller one at the top, fatter joint at the bottom, so something like so. Ooh, wait, actually before that, I have to remember. Where is it? Here we go. I'm not the biggest fan of like action stories because I'm more interested in like the human element of things, right? Just seeing people fight, I'm not that like crazy about. Sure, I can like appreciate some really good dumb like action fun from here or there. But like what gets me really going is, you know, the character writing, right? How the characters are portrayed, their growth, whether they stagnate, you know, stuff like that. Okay. And while this is like a seinen action gore fest, it's very compelling with its character writing. And like some of the ass pulls that they do are like really well thought out and really fun with how they end up explaining it and the implications of like how these characters can like perform these like really insane feats. Because like basically to combat these like super cockroaches that are leagues stronger than the normal human, that are fast, like immensely faster than like the average human and all that, they essentially like inject themselves with a drug that they that they undergone a specific like surgery for, that gives them like qualities of certain animals, and they use those like animal qualities that are upscale to the size of a human. So like there's that idea of like ants, right? Like the idea of like if you were to upscale an ant to the size of a human, then the ant would be the strongest animal on Earth, kind of thing. Like that's the idea that they're like rolling with, right? So like all of a sudden like a lot of these like obscure animals become all the more terrifying and shit. It's so cool. Okay. So how do these two connect? Like so. Okay. Okay. So with that being said, this is a live action adaptation of an anime / manga from 2016. So with that in mind, right, there's this really interesting kind of like, not a dilemma, but idea that up until like earlier this year, there was no such thing as a good anime to live action adaptation, right? Like, I think maybe you could argue Bleach had a okay one, but like I can't speak on that because I haven't seen it. I just remember some people talking about it. But like up until like the One Piece live action, there was like this unanimous idea that there is no such thing as a good anime to live action movie adaptation like ratio. So I'm particularly excited to see how this movie is bad, and kind of hoping that it's not in the it's so mediocre it's not even entertaining. Like I'm hoping to see it actually be kind of just like B horror awful, but like there being this layer of thing is bad because it's not as good as adaptation, right? Or the thing it's adapting, right? So I feel that's completely forgivable to some degree, of course, because if you have like a manga and you adapt it into an anime, right, and the anime just doesn't do the manga justice. The anime serves as an advertisement for you to watch the manga because it's a better version of the original thing, right? That's one thing. And I'm perfectly fine with that being something that can happen from watching a poor adaptation of a better... Ooh. Okay, hold on. Okay. It's still happening when I do it this way too. That's interesting. Okay. Might just have to be something that I just work through. Because, like, even how I'm doing the webcam for this, like, I changed it and it's still doing this. Oh, well. Okay. Oh, Lord, how does this... Okay. Okay, the arms and so on are on the back. Okay. So let's see. Now that we have this H 8/19/18. I'm getting into that habit of only using the tip of the nipper again. That's not good. Where did that go? Okay. 1918. 1918. So what else have I been up to that I can think of? So the other day I picked up a couple of games. Oh, that one just fell off. That's good. I picked up Megaton Musashi and no. Yes, God only has 2 hands. And I broke one of them on this cursed model kit. Yo, what's up, Shoddy? But yeah, I picked up 2 games. One of them I'm going in knowing I'm not gonna like it. But because like I feel like I have a duty to play through it just because I used to be a fan of the franchise. Oh wait, oh lord. Okay. I didn't do this. I need to go back to reading that manga. Like, I picked it up back when, like, the newest chapter was 18. And I was like, yo, this is pretty sick. I'm really digging it. And, like, I kind of kept up with it to, like, chapter 30-something. And then I was just like, I'll wait for more to come out. Which is just usually a death sentence for my attention span for a manga. When I just tell myself I'll look back at it later. Because, like, Nagatoro is, I think, the only one that I've actually gone back to. Every time I've said, I'll just take a look at this later, which I need to, now that I think about it. But, like, part of that is just because I find the, like, development of Nagatoro and the senpai's relationship to be extremely, like, endearing. Yep, it is a third-person hack and slash with some, like, mecha builder aspects to it. Admittedly, I haven't gone that deep into it, but I know that it's the game that I'm going to enjoy more out of the 2 that I picked up, with the other being Dead Island 2. I am way more... Oh lord, how did they want this to go? They wanted it like that, and then this sits in like so. Yeah, so it's a third-person mecha hack and slash in terms of Megaten Musashi. And I genuinely think that game has a lot of good to it, right? Granted, again, I've only ever played the... Like, I finished the tutorial. But, like, just by touching... How do I put this? Just by touching the controls, right? I could feel the amount of sauce that they were cooking with for the combat. So I'm excited to get back into it when I get a chance to actually, like, give that game's combat a full, like, fleshed out shot. Because from what I touched in the tutorial, I could see the potential for, like, a lot of really wacky fun shit that you could do. If, like, the game lets you do animation cancels and whatnot. Like, that game is somewhat close to being, like, a mecha Devil May Cry in some aspects. It's a little bit more reined in from what I touched, but there's always that chance that, like, some of those melee weapons can cancel out into other melee weapons in a very fluid manner. And if that is the case, there's going to be some really fun shit for that game's combat. Oh, RoboQuest is fantastic. I can definitely recommend it. Yeah, it's... I haven't played Doom Eternal. I played Doom 2016 on release and beat it, and I thought that was a great game. Based on some of the stuff about Doom Eternal, they made some gameplay changes that I'm not sure I'm going to like when I get around to playing that game. I'm very much the kind of person who will hyper focus on, like, 1 or 2 guns that I just really like particularly. So the idea that Doom Eternal will want you to like hyper cycle through all of your weapons. I'm not sure if I would like that gameplay loop. Like, there's a lot of really cool action tools, right? Like the grappling hook and all that stuff, right? And that's stuff that I can respect and like. But again, like, because I like hyper focusing and like upgrading like 1 or 2 guns that I particularly enjoy, I'm not sure if I would like the cycle through all of your guns, get a chainsaw kill to recycle ammo, and then cycle through all of your guns again. Which is not a problem in RoboQuest. They are very much content with you rogueliking your way through that entire game, and then just also upgrading the guns that you feel comfortable with, and hopefully finding better versions of the same gun through your run. Oh, wait. Okay, and then this goes here. Got it. But yeah, the other game that I picked up, Dead Island 2. I'm a big zombies fan. Like, I love games where like you can kind of just brainlessly kill zombies, pun intended, and just like have fun on that like zombie killing like power trip, right? So games where like Dead Island, you can kind of build a character and do all that stuff. I think that's great. I think that's fun. But I have, while there's a lot about Dead Island that I would like, there's a lot about Dead Island that I don't like as well. And so I want to see what happens with Dead Island 2. And there's just some stuff that I already don't like. Like enemy hit registration feels really weird in Dead Island 2 from what I've played so far. Granted, not that much. In fact, probably like tonight I'll probably like just dedicate. Well, no, there's something else I'm gonna be playing, but like, it'll depend. It'll depend. The video title is more of a joke. It's just the pure coincidence of like everything that has gone wrong since I started building the kit. Like, that's all pure coincidence. Don't feel bad about it. But yeah, so just like before I like, how do I put this? Before like I give like my genuine impressions of Dead Island 2, because I haven't seen everything yet. Dead Island 2 is probably going to be a game that I try to blitz through, and just like see what I can see Not necessarily by rushing through the game, but by like genuinely playing it. But I want to see what that game does that's different and better from Dead Island 1. And one of the things I sure hope is the story. Because there's some rough spots in Dead Island 1's story where they try to touch on some darker like topics, and they don't do a good job of it. Okay. That being said, I don't think like you could make those same mistakes in a modern era game without there being like a major problem that like everyone will hear about. So I doubt that they made those same mistakes between the stories of Dead Island 1 and 2. Like, zombie movement feels a lot snappier and quicker in Dead Island 2. And because of that, I feel like I'm being hit by some attacks I shouldn't be. And that doesn't feel good. But there's a implementation of a dodge button that I don't remember being there before. Or at least not functioning in the same ways. And the dropkick also feels really weird. But that might just be because like the dropkick in the first Dead Island was just so damn good. So I'm gonna save my thoughts until I like finish Dead Island 2 in proper. Dead Island 1 had a weird scaling problem, in my opinion as well. Because of how the zombies scaled, right? And how everything scaled to your level, that created this weird issue of like, yes, you're getting more like tools and abilities on how to deal with some of these enemies, right? But at the same time, they're getting stronger and you're not hitting that like major power spike. At least it doesn't feel as visible. So it feels like you're being punished for leveling up because of how much the enemies scale in comparison to you and the tools that you unlock through your skill tree by leveling up. So that is something I hope gets addressed into now that I'm going to be playing that soon. Yeah, like in Dead Rising 1, right? Like it just created this very unfortunate situation in that it feels like you're at your strongest at the very start of the game and you progressively get weaker despite getting new tools and toys to play with. Because like, yes, leveling up is important because it lets you get new skills. Yes, leveling up is important because it lets you equip better weapons. Right? But like you need the better weapons now to deal with the zombies, so it becomes like slightly gear based. So leveling up feels like you're being punished, but you need to level up to use the things to kill the higher level enemies. And it just, I don't know. I feel that maybe there could have been like a different balance struck with the leveling. And that may have made it a bit more, like, engaging, fun. I'm not sure what verbiage I should use there. Also, hi Zeta, if I haven't said that already. Okay. So, let's see. Big toe. Oh god, there's something between the toes that I have to cut too. Okay. Alright. Okay, so far so good. Okay. So yeah, another funny coincidence between those two games is that, like, even if you buy them on Steam, they force you to log in through Epic. Which, yikes. Hopefully, they did something about that. Because, like, I remember, like, years ago at this point, there's, like, a whole thing about, like, Epic trying to get your information from Steam in, like, some way, shape, or form. And now that they have games that, like, they demand that you sign in through Epic, so you can launch them on Steam, that doesn't sit right with me. But, you know, maybe something was done about it. In the grand scheme of things, I don't necessarily care, but that can't be right. Right? Oh, okay, I see how that is. Okay. Do they want the longer or the shorter end? They want the longer end through. Okay. And then they want E11. E11. Oh god, is that a... That is indeed a runner that I haven't even pulled out of its packaging yet. Oh god. I mean, it is the Blue Eyes White Dragon. It's kind of like in the name of the kit that it is primarily this one color. And I completely get where you're coming from. So like the shading would definitely like probably be the best way. Oh god. That would be a fun little thing. There's a YouTuber, if I remember correctly, he went by Yuichi, like Yuichi. I'll probably find some of his stuff. Like, he was a big reason why I want to get back into like painting and doing like Mecha Musume stuff. Mecha Musume being like 30-minute sisters, frame arm girls, and whatnot. That dude has a video where he converted this kit. Wait, hold on, which side? Really? Like that? Really? Okay, that's why. Where he converted this kit into Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon. Oh wait, that actually stands on its own. That's actually kind of impressive. Huh. Interesting. Okay, and then this one right here. Yeah, no, there's some really good like Figure Eye standard customizations. Like Soletta into Caliburn or Ariel are like classics. Another really good one that I saw is like multiple versions of what's her name? Choo Choo. Choo Choo being mixed with her Demi Trainer. Alright. They want 10. Okay. And B230. B230. But yeah, like I would say that to help bring out the detail on this plastic, it would very much benefit from like hitting it with a top coat and then going in with a light like wash to do some of the shading, to get into some of these like molded like muscly details. Because like this is detailed plastic, it's just because of how it's molded, it could use a little bit. Yeah, no, like I'm not I'm sure you may have seen it already, because like every time I get an update to it, I have a Chowtree shrine in my room. She's my favorite character from Witch from Mercury for quite a few reasons. At one point I was even writing like a little script for like why I think she's so great as a character, and a part of me wants to finish making that. Is it like so? No, it's like so. Because there's some themes about. Wait, is that correct? That's not. Yeah, that's not correct. Okay. There's some themes in Witch from Mercury, right? Again, like I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this like 3-4 different times at this point. Every time the Witch from Mercury becomes a topic on this stream. One of the writers for the Witch from Mercury went to a high school, and he talked to the students being like, hey, are you guys excited for the new Gundam series? And everyone's just like, we don't care, we don't relate, there's nothing about that war drama that we as children in this modern warless Japan can relate to. Which got the guy thinking, like, yeah, Gundam is a space opera written on the like tailcoats of World War II, and Japan hasn't like directly been involved in a war since then, so it lost some of that relatability in the modern, like, you know, children, which, you know, is a good thing for Japan in a sense. So that's why the new Gundam series like takes place in a school, right? And why instead of it being about the horrors of war, it's about the horrors of like corporate uprisings and the like willingness to throw away the lives of random people for a quick buck, right? And as well as like the horrors of like where technology can go, right? So those are some themes, right? But in the more relatable sense, right? Because these are supposed to be school students, right? Chowtree is very interesting as a character because Japan has this problem with bullies in that most students tend to kind of just try to blend in with the other students. They don't like standing out. That's just a Japanese culture thing. Like, to stand out, to be different, isn't something that they like in their culture to some degree. And so when you have a bully, usually people don't stand up to them, especially if the bully comes from like a wealthy family. Well, when you look at the school that they're going to, all of the Earth kids are like depicted as like these poor students on a scholarship, whereas most of the Spatians are like children of like corporate heads that are rich. So every time there's bullying depicted in there of the Earthians, it's kind of making a commentary about like classism, right? The idea that like the richer kid will beat up on the poorer kid because the poor kid can't fight back. And then you have Chowtree, who is like the direct antithesis of that idea, who would punch back, who would strike back at her air quotes oppressors, right? Now, granted, a lot of Choo Choo's like character arc is growing out of just blindly labeling people by their class and starting to identify and recognize people as individuals, which is why, like, initially she didn't like Suletta, because Suletta was like, you know, she's a Spatian, right? But because of her being from Mercury, and Mercury being considered and like depicted as the sticks, right? Like they're treating her like she's a country girl in a big like metropolitan like city school, you know? So like Choo Choo could kind of like relate to her being bullied by the rich kids that way. And that's like why they get off on like they eventually come to like see eye to eye, Choo Choo and Suletta. At least Choo Choo starts to see her that way. Yeah, exactly. So like there's a lot there, just between the setting, interpreting the setting. Now, again, granted, like I'm some dude that was raised in America, right? And I can only interpret some of the like Japanese school stuff from other Japanese media that I've consumed. Actually Asian media in general, because Korea has like some of the similar things that they depict in their like school systems in their like manga and whatnot. But like it's one of those things where like if it's depicted enough, you kind of start to realize that it's because that is a thing that happens, to at least to some degree, even if it's maybe a little inflated. Like the concept of a bully bullying someone to the point of them not being around anymore. Hint, not hint, but like rather like, you know, so to speak, they're not around anymore. And that injustice being like just kind of swept under the rug because the school cares about its reputation, right? Because schools live or die by their reputation. That's not a Japanese or Asia exclusive thing. That there's some of that is still like present in American schools, right? Particularly like cyberbullying is one of those things that tends to get swept under the rug at times, half because the staff don't learn about the cyberbullying, or they don't know what they can do about it, or they try to do something about it and actively make it worse, because it's extremely hard to fight bullies, because to act out against a bully like just shows that the bully wants to hurt that victim more. Which again, Choo Choo like kind of represents this outlier of the person who can fight back, which is in a society like Japan, which is way more reserved, is like a dream, right? So again, Choo Choo has a lot of like character dynamic, if that's the correct word for it. There's a lot more to her than just a loud girl who punches rich kids, you know, because she's also kind of like the hope of the Earthians, right? Because she has, as they shown like in episode 3, I think it was episode 3, like there's a whole bunch of guys back on Earth that like at least played some kind of a role in raising her, and want her to succeed so she doesn't end up like them on Earth. And like there's so much to Choo that I absolutely adore, that I feel people kind of just let fall to the side, because damn, that was a really good punch she threw that one time. But yeah, like, Choo Choo's my favorite character from Witch from Mercury for some of those reasons. Like, it doesn't help that a lot of the Earthians are depicted as, like, having to do, like, hyper menial labor. Oh, yeah, no. Like, this is something that's kind of, like, I'm noticing that's kind of making me sad. Is that, like, I talk about something called, like, media literacy. I really like the idea that there's, like, an intended like message behind, like, someone's writing, right? That there's an idea that they want to convey in the story that they're writing, and your ability to recognize that, like, message is kind of, like, important to, like, actually getting the most out of the experience with the media, right? Hold on, is that shit? Wait, what's going on here? Yeah, no, I need one more H part that I forgot about. Like, media literacy is important because an author, you know, might have a intended way to look at something, right? Like, the way they depict something is done with an intention, and to kind of ignore that intention or how a character is portrayed, and then you interpret it differently, can cause misunderstandings of, like, that character or what's trying to be said, right? Now, I'm not going to say that every depiction of a character in a fictional medium has to have, like, some deeper meaning, right? Because sometimes, like, there are different reasons why you write a story, right? Some of it, or you write a paper, right? There's to entertain, there's to inform, and then there's to persuade, right? And sometimes there's, like, a mixture of different things, right? Yeah, thank you, Zeta. Yeah, to persuade. And so, like, to try to glimpse meaning from something that was meant specifically to entertain, right, I feel is a big mistake. And I'm saying this because you get situations like the new Kong movie, right? The new Kong and Godzilla movie. Spoilers for a to entertain movie that is more about the giant monster fighting than, like, the actual writing for the human characters. they have a interesting implication in how the story's written that I feel is not intentional, because the movie was made to entertain. And because the movie was made to entertain, if you were to try to think of it like critically, right, and try to interpret something that isn't meant to be there, you then get some funny unintended writing that technically doesn't belong because it wasn't intended to be there, right? Again, spoilers. Yo, sup, Dumpling? I'm about to go into a slight tangent rant about why discerning a media's intent on why it was made is important to the idea of media literacy and understanding what you're looking at. In that new King Kong Godzilla movie, again, spoilers if you haven't seen it yet, there is a like prophecy or like a historical recording in a on a wall through like hieroglyphics, right? Like through wall paintings, and it depicts this story that there are more giant gorillas like King Kong, but they were evil, right? And they threatened humankind who lives on the surface of Earth, right? And so Godzilla fights these gorillas, right? And almost dies in the process, but manages to like seal them away underground, right? And so the events of the new movie kind of has this new undertone that because Godzilla had this negative interaction with the evil tribe of gorillas, right? These giant gorillas, that Godzilla now shoots on sight, so to speak, when King Kong, who is a giant gorilla, shows up. So you have this thing of Godzilla racially profiling King Kong as evil, not just because King Kong is getting into Godzilla's territory, but also because Godzilla is a gorilla, and therefore Godzilla thinks, gorillas are evil from his past experience with gorillas. So again, if this was intended, which I'm sure it's not, this is supposed to be a dumb action flick for the sake of fun, and not a social commentary in any way, shape, or form. You have this idea that yes, exactly, Godzilla is having a Frieza moment. In fact, it's so bad. One of the action scenes has Godzilla King Kong holding up his hands and being like, wait, yo, wait, hold up, chill. And then Godzilla is still attacking on sight and throwing hands. Again, media literacy without the idea of like the context of the purpose of the media would have you then go, well, yeah, they're trying to depict Godzilla as a racially motivated Frieza like character who has to be talked out of it by his girlfriend Mothra, who goes, "No, no, no, Godzilla, not all gorillas are evil." So yeah, as a topic, like, people have been talking about media literacy, and people have been saying, like, every time someone brings up the idea of media literacy, they're kind of like a pretentious douche. But, like, there's also the idea of interpreting something incorrectly, and if you don't have the critical eye to interpret it for what it actually is, then there's a chance that that media becomes tainted by that person's flawed interpretation of the thing, because no one's gonna bother to interpret it any further, right? And so that's why I think, like, media literacy is actually important, because there's always something that you can glean from a media, whether it's, like, intentional or not, right? Maybe it's like a small detail of, like, a facial expression or a body gesture, and, like, if you interpret it wrong, then all of a sudden that whole scene becomes something different. And at the same time, like, you'll get people who claim one thing about a franchise when it's something completely different. And you can't necessarily call them wrong, because it's a matter of interpretation. So again, like, media literacy is something important, and to be able to interpret something, like, topical, Terraform Mars, right? Terraform Mars had a bout of being considered to be a racist media because of its portrayal of the initial villains of the story, right? Terraform Mars, as I, like, kind of, like, summarized earlier in the stream, is a seinen action manga about essentially a disease being spread on Earth that has no cure, and the source of the disease is on Mars. Humans had attempted to terraform Mars and sent, of all things, cockroaches to Mars to serve as, like, a test on whether Mars could support living things or not. This created the very unfortunate circumstance that the cockroaches evolved into a human-like figure, right? Thinking of, like going back to, like, Neanderthals and whatnot, right? Now, because you have that depiction of the Neanderthal, like, portrayal of these super cockroaches, right, where they're actually, like, standing up on hind legs, they have some human-like features to them, despite still maintaining some of the cockroach-like features to them, because they're depicted as having a black skin tone, people were interpreting this as being, like, a racist caricature of African Americans, when these cockroaches were supposed to be, like, representing, like, the old Neanderthal stage of, like, human evolution and whatnot, right? And there's the extra layer that the reason why the cockroaches are depicted as black isn't, like, a skin tone thing. It's just that cockroaches in Japan are kind of reviled in multiple ways, and in many depictions of, like, media, they are depicted to be of, like, this pure black, like, chitin, right? So again, you have these foreign people interpreting terraformers in a way that it wasn't intended to be interpreted, and so it gets labeled as something that's not, which is racist. Because again, like, the theming is they're supposed to be, emulating the evolution cycle of human man. And so that's why they look the way they do. Okay. Now, granted, that misinterpretation of terraformers comes from a little bit of a different place because of different cultural backgrounds having different interpretations of, just different things, right? So, because of American culture and whatnot, we're a bit more sensitive in our portrayal of African Americans and things that could be interpreted as representations of them for, understandable reasons. Yeah, culture clash is extremely difficult, especially like people who tend to like fly off the handle when like there's a word in one language that sounds similar to another word in another language that happens to be like an offensive term. Like, I find that coincidence to be like one of the worst perpetrators of that. One sec, I'm gonna hydrate. But yeah, in media literacy, you should take the interpretation of a media through the eyes of like the people who made it, right? In history, one of the things that you learn in like higher levels of history in America is that you're supposed to be critical of the sources that you're reading, right? Because like a lot of first-hand sources, it's interpreting the world through their eyes from a different culture in a different time, right? So when like the clouds blot out the sun, they could say that it's a sign from the gods that they have committed great sin, and it is a terrible day that the gods are seeking vengeance on them through a thunderstorm, right? Well, through the eyes of modern like historians, that just a thunderstorm, bro. So again, like, you have to be critical of, like, not critical, but like aware and willing to interpret, or willing to acknowledge the variable that is the writer and where they're coming from at that point in time. That is something that is incredibly important for every written media, although like this is something being taught in like history, right? Because like you could read a anecdote from someone, right, who claims that a certain group of people are inherently evil, right? That there's nothing good that comes from these evil people who do horrible things and whatnot, right? And then you kind of learn that the person who's writing that and saying that is a group of, the historically considered evil people of the Axis in World War II, right? So all of a sudden, that criticism of that other group being considered evil and awful gets a new layer of context because of who wrote it and who's saying it. It's not something that you can take at face value. And that's another thing that I feel people tend to like just not think about. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, like that's one of the great things about like video games as a medium. Video games as a medium actually can serve as a really good tool for teaching you like ideas and concepts, right? One of my favorite like concepts that was taught in a video game is the ship of Theseus, right? The ship of Theseus is, to kind of like break it down, it's kind of like a philosophical question in that this boat goes on 1,000 adventures, right? And every adventure they have to replace and repair like the wood and the wooden planks, right? At what point does that boat stop being the original ship of Theseus if you've already replaced every single piece of wood that was originally part of the boat in its origin? If I like said that correctly. At what point does the ship of Theseus stop being the ship of Theseus is kind of like the idea. That is a thing of philosophy that you can learn by taking, you know, philosophy classes. Or you played a video game that is called 999 about 9 people trapped on a boat and they have to do escape room puzzles and deal with possible traitors. It is so good. Yo, sup? Is that the Tomboy Soda? The one and only Tomboy Soda? Yo, what's up, man? Good to see you stop by. Yes, I am currently building a Blue Eyes White Dragon for a friend of mine. Yeah, so this is my friend's model. I wouldn't be caught dead owning Blue Eyes anything paraphernalia. Because of that, this build has been incredibly cursed. Incredibly cursed. Yeah. So, it's not about the joints, but about a lot of things that have been happening ever since I started building it. So I'm not sure about, like, how the joints will hold up. The model kit comes with a fucking stand, so, I mean, fair. If, like, it can't hold itself up because it comes with a stand. I'm just doing a little bit of extra legwork because it's gonna be... This is something that's going to belong to a friend of mine. And so I'm kind of, like, gluing things to just make sure that they stay where they're supposed to. Since he's the Blue Eyes fan. Yeah, I'm doing the two-snip method. I'm taking my sweet time with this thing. I might need one more stream of this tomorrow. No, maybe tomorrow. Because I have some... Soda. So, I'm gonna be watching the live-action Terraformars movie with someone today. The one from 2016, you know, before the concept of good live action adaptations of anime / manga, you know, were a thing. The person that I'm gonna be watching it with doesn't watch much anime or read any manga. So I don't know how they found out about it, but like apparently they're sold on the premise of like the movie description. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah. No, like I was just talking about like media literacy and whatnot, right? And how like if you don't have the correct like idea of like media literacy, right? Or like you only have an incomplete version of media literacy, you will misinterpret what those cockroaches actually are. Right? Because the cockroaches are supposed to be a representation of like a earlier portion of like the human evolution cycle, right? Of like Neanderthals. That like it only took like so many years for the cockroaches to evolve to that point. And so they're supposed to have this really uncanny vibe. Right? So I don't know, dude. All I know is the color choice is just because like Japan likes to portray their cockroaches as black in color. Let's look at Yu-Gi-Oh, my dude. Do you remember Max C? Do you remember what Max C was like before it was Max C? Yeah, it was shiny black C. Again, the C standing for cockroach. You know, so like that just how it be. Yeah, no, man. I completely understand. Oh man, why is my camera doing that? It's like a problem with Video Ninja, but like I don't know how to get past it. But yeah, I haven't seen like anything from the live action yet. So I'm going in I think it's finished. I'm reading through it right now actually. Over this like cuz they brought up like reading watching the movie, right? Like I want to say like Monday or Tuesday. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna start reading it. And based on like where I'm reading it, there's like 200 and something chapters, like 213-ish. And the title of chapter 213 sounds like a finale chapter title. So there's a very real chance that it is done. And I'm 130 something in. Yeah. I've been having a good time with the read. At 160 something, it feels like it's going weird places. It's going really weird places. And I don't know. Like, it's still good. It's still really good. I feel that the story is not yet. I don't think they're back at Earth yet. They're from where I'm at, the group just got rescued. So they're on the ship going back to Earth right now. And then Mr. Rome just finished his fight, and then he got taken into his remains got taken into a different ship where they did a different reveal about Mr. Rome, which is wild. Sadly, the like chapter quality around where I'm at, some of the sources that they grabbed from, the chapter quality of the like translation wasn't that great. Like they didn't clean up anything, and it felt like the pages got like the page order got messed up in the manga chapter, because like it just feels weird. So I'm trying to reorientate myself and kind of get an understanding of what's going on again. Yeah, definitely. I've been talking about Terraform Mars to some of my other friends, and we're gonna try to watch season 1 of the anime relatively soon-ish. Because we know season 1 of the anime is good, and then like the thing that's supposed to serve as season 2, a completely different team got involved, and the quality just isn't there. Yeah, but it's much worse than One Punch Man's like thing, because like the other team started to like, they rearranged scenes from different chapters. Like they throw in like a flashback to like a scene that happened like 30 chapters later. Like it's so weird. They like mischaracterize some of the characters. Mantis Shrimp is so cool. Fucking he has that fucking Rock Lee moment of shedding the weights. Yo. So good. But yeah, I'm slowly building a list of like manga that I want to read and go back to, because like again, like I have this habit of like, man, I've been keeping up with this manga for like a few months now. I'm just gonna wait for it to like, you know, have more done, and then I just never go back to it. So like I have Magical Girl of the End that I really want to do. There's another one called like Dolly Kill Kill or something like that. That was also pretty wild that I want to read again. Oh, yo. Yo, we don't shame here, bro. Yo, what's the BL, my dude? We were enjoying some of that good old Vanguard deer cross dress. Oh geez, dude, I need that title. If you can like DM it to me, that would be great. It's called something in the cloud. Sorry, like from the chat that I'm looking at, there's that little dumb heart thing that's kind of like covering a little bit of the message. Okay, I'm gonna give that a read. Lost in the Cloud, got it. Okay. Oh yeah, no. Like being in a toxic relationship is the worst, you know, from firsthand experience, right? But like reading about a toxic relationship and the psychology behind it is like very fascinating, and also the drama is really nice. All right. Okay. Like, yes, suffer more. Jesus, dude. Some good old Schadenfreude. Or Schadenfreude, something like that. I could never get that word right. If I remember correctly, it's... supposed to be... right? There we go. So, currently I'm still in the process of building my Grand Archive deck. There's a locals that there's actually a locals for Grand Archive that I can go to, and that's going to be great. I look forward to that. I built a deck completely from scratch and theory, just without having actually touched the game outside of playing like one match with Yuki from Dual Leveling. Like, that game looks really interesting, and I want to see what I can do with what I've like brewed. Okay. Hey, yo, it stands. Not bad. So Grand Archive is like the game I'm currently looking at the most. I keep doing stuff with Vanguard because I just really like Vanguard at this point. Vanguard's just been like a really fun thing. For a guard game to pick up now, but a homie told me about a new deck box roughly in the 40-60 range that is gonna drop soon. Yeah, no. Divines has been like really good. Like Cardfight Vanguard Divine Z. How do I put it? It's as good as like a card game anime could get while staying faithful to like the card game. Right? Without saying too much about Divine Z, because like Soda, if you're down to give it a look, I'm down to watch it with you at some point. But Divine Z, I understand you're looking more for Overdress Season 1, but Divine Z is very Fate Stay Night-ish. It's a very Holy Grail War-esque. As weird as that sounds. And we're looking at season 2 of Divine Z, and it's starting to sound a little bit like Apocrypha, where there might be a second team, which is very funny. Yeah. So imagine the divine cards being like servants from Fate. And they're fighting to get a wish granted. And now that we're moving into season 2, there's a new faded symbol. Yeah, the Welstra guy's back. The bald dude who played Zorga, he's back. For the most part, the other 3 divine guys are new characters. The other 3 or 4. Yeah, 4. They introduced some really peak female characters. The Youthberg dude, he cameos. Like he shows up on occasion. He's not that into the story for Divine's season 1. Because like they mostly try to focus on the new cast, while giving the Welstra guy a little bit more, and same with the Zorga guy. Interesting. I think that was because of I think Full Blast was like at the end of the 4th season of the Overdress thing. But yeah. I took another look at Yu-Gi-Oh! And like I'm starting to realize the loop of like modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just not for me. Because every time I look at it, I'll try out one of the newer decks through like Master Duel and be like, yeah, this is too much for me. I don't want to think about my moves to that extent every single game that I play in a casual setting. And so, like, if I ever, like, get back into Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's gotta be, like, GOAT format, Reaper format, or, like, Edison. Or, like, some other Time Wizard format that isn't as fucking crazy as, like, modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I would say modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is too much. Like, Edison format Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, like, a very nice medium. Although I think that maybe, like, at this point, I think Blackwings are just a little bit too good in that format. But I could be wrong because I'm not playing that format to the extent to where I'd be, like, that knowledgeable about it. I tried to homebrew a very jank insect deck that I thought would perform well. And I don't have the results yet to kind of, like, say, yeah, I did a good job. But by playtesting it a little bit with my friends, I'm, like, running into problems with my list. And so, like, maybe I can polish it up. Maybe it's at its peak as is. I'm not sure. But, Underground Arachnid level 6 toolbox dot insect is... It might not be it. But I'm trying to have fun with it. In my own way. Oh man, dude. You see, the problem with Cell at Mangrates is that they're a fire deck. So good luck getting those bonfires, my man. Oh god, I hate the secondary market of card games so much. Alright. With... Oh, yeah, bonfire. So you might be out of the loop. Imagine Rhoda for pyros. Or fire monsters, rather. It's one of the two. And it's at 3. Like, I think you have to discard a card, but who cares? That's a resource in the graveyard. You know? Like, hold on. Let's see if I can... Let's see. TCG bonfire. TCG player. Right, because they're hold on. Yeah, because they're all cybers, right? Okay, for one pyro monster, got it. Yeah, you dodged a bullet there. Okay. But, like... How bad is access code right now? $17 isn't too bad. Wait, hold on. That's more like 24. Wait. That's a Korean... damaged is like 17. It's like 18. 18 for an access code isn't like the worst. I'm still looking at that dot hack card game though, because like it seems really fun. It's just I haven't been able to play it with anyone. Yeah. Access code got reprinted. That Baron de Fleur that got reprinted, and then it just, it got banned, and it was like an $8 accessible card at that point. Okay. I just finished painting the kaiju number 8, teeth on all 3 faceplates. 30mm marker tips. I locked Ultra Instinct there. Nice. Okay. Well, I have to get driving to somewhere soon, so I think I'm gonna like end it here on the legs. And then maybe tomorrow I can wrap this up. The problem is tomorrow I'll be streaming at a little bit of a later time because I have lunch with the family. Alright. So with that, yeah, I'm going to call it here. Thank you all for stopping by, and I'll see you some other time. Alright.